Is it time to get back into World War III? This is actually a complicated question because there's just a lot of people who feel burned by its initial release. So those of you that don't know or maybe don't remember, there was a debacle surrounding the game during its launch. At around the time that Battlefield 5 was receiving a lot of flack and criticism, the developers of World War III had a chance at taking some of Battlefield's fan base. In my opinion, I honestly think that this was a genius move by the developers. What they were trying to do was be an alternative to Battlefield, and it would have been a great move too if they didn't fuck it up on release. Basically what happened is that when a lot of players came into the game itself, the game was basically bogged down by loading screens. There were reports of people not even being able to get into the game because of the very first loading screen. Loading screens took anywhere from 2 hours to 24 hours. Like, Jesus Christ. I was one of the lucky ones because it only took me like, 30 minutes to get into the game? But even then, there was almost like no full matches because everybody was stuck trying to get into the damn game. Most of the time it was like a 2v2 and what's supposed to be like a full-on, what was it, like 60 versus 60 or something like that? I don't remember. It's been a while. What was even worse is that beta testers were actually warning the developers that this was going on. The fact that people weren't even finding each other in the beta was a giant red flag, and they decided not to actually take their advice and launch the game anyway. So yeah, big done goose here. But the time that I did have with the game, I actually did have fun, fighting people. Like, there were a couple of matches where I actually did get some decent full ones, and I was able to like really play it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I made an honest opinion video basically saying that this is a very good alternative to Battlefield if you decide to actually get it. But of course, I mentioned the loading screens that just really bogged down the experience. When I last looked at the Steam charts, it was sitting at maybe like barely 100 players, and then they had a content drop that had like a bunch of new stuff. I didn't actually take a look at what was in it, but apparently it was good enough to bring back around an extra 400 players. The grand total went up to like 500, but it's dipped back down to around 200 to 300, which is a stark difference between World War III and Insurgency Sandstorm because at the same time they both dropped content. World War III has more of a player base in terms of bought copies. If you look at Social Blade, I think it says around 11,000, and Insurgency Sandstorm has around close to 8,000, I'd say. But more people came back to Insurgency Sandstorm than people from World War III because the developers of Insurgency Sandstorm were only lacking in content, whereas World War III wasn't necessarily lacking in content, but people just felt burned. At least that's my assessment of these numbers here. Content is good, but when you lose the trust of your player base, it just looks bad all around. And the developers have actually acknowledged this. I don't remember what they said this, but they said that if there was anything that they could fix, it's the trust between them and the gamers. Well, here is their chance. On the 20th, the game is going to be free to play for a limited amount of time. So if there's anybody that wants to go out and try it, now would be the time. The game seriously needs a break, and this could be it. Free Weekend is apparently going to feature brand new content, so look out for that if you decide to actually join it. The game is also going for 40% off, so that's a price drop from 30 to 17 bucks just about, which is actually a pretty good price if anybody's actually interested in buying it. This sounds good. This is really good. The only thing that they have to do is not screw it up and they should be good to go. Again, I did enjoy the gameplay, so I do recommend it if you're interested. But that's all I really got to say about World War III. I want to wish them the best of luck because I did enjoy their game at the time, even though it was bogged down by loading screens. I think they did fix that initially. I haven't been able to play, obviously, but from what I've heard from other people, they say that they fixed it. So I might hop on my frickin' roommate's computer just to try it out. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out to watch, and I guess I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.